Hello, each and every one. It's another Shelf by Shelf, and relax, guys. I'm fine. Okay. So, I know I have a lot of posts like Facebook and that about how isolation drives me nuts. And granted, I would like it to be over sometime soon. But I had the funny story was that I went to visit my friend Ricky, who runs a Dice Portsmouth, and I was like seeing how they were getting on. And he told me that somebody had gone and viewed my videos and then bought some games off them, and it said like, you might want to check up on Luke or like see how he's getting on. I'm worried for him. He's kind of descending into sadness, and I was like, what the? I mean, it made my day. Whoever you are, please let me know, because that did make my day, because I was laughing my head off when I heard him say that. And like I say, I'm fine. All right, I will be fine. I will pull through. Nobody likes this isolation, and granted, it probably is driving me to a slight state of madness, but. I've got some things I'm going to be helping Dice out with in the future, so that's going to do some good for me. And like I say, this always keeps me entertained. Anyway, enough of that. Let's get on with some shelf videos. So I've lost count of where we are now. I mean, there's so many of them now. 16, 20, 24, 26, must be on 27 now. So now we're moving on to Days of Wonder. Days of Wonder, they used to be better. They used to be better than I think they are now. They used to put out like one game a year if you were lucky, but the game was always a hit. It was like, it's the Days of Wonder release and it's going to be solid. And this is all since Ticket to Ride. But recently they've still not released that many games that aren't Ticket to Ride based anyway, and they've kind of been a bit ho-hum, so I'm worried that they're kind of losing their way a bit. But otherwise, they still had some cracking stuff, and I've got a few games to go through, and pretty much this entire shelf is Days of Wonder. So, let's start off with the original big, the heavier Euro that they have done, 5 Tribes. 5 Tribes, this is still like a staple Euro for a lot of people. Looks gorgeous, colourful meeples all over the place. It is essentially like this huge, great big, go the other way now. There goes my insert. So it's a one-colour mechanic. So you got all the tiles, all these colour meeples lift over, all over it, and essentially you grab a pile of meeples, and then as you move to adjacent tiles, you drop one meeple onto each tile. You know what you're dropping; it's not random. And the last one you drop, essentially, like you get those meeples, and it triggers the action based on that colour meeple. So red go around assassinating people, white summon genies, yellow are points, green you get set collection cards. And it's a really cool game that isn't actually a very complicated one to play. Its main issue is that it is legendary in generating analysis paralysis on people, because you have a load of options at the start and then you get less and less and less. But for the first half of the game, especially with 4 players, you could be waiting around a while, but that's why I try to cap it at 3 players, and it actually makes a very good 2-player. I hear there's a solo variant for this, and I've seen them put stuff out on it, but I haven't yet tried it, so I might have to try that out in the near future. But I like this one. I mean, it's one of those games where it makes you think, but it's not overly complex. In fact, I don't know, did I put this on my low complexity, high depth list? I'm not sure. It might have been one that made the short list but didn't quite go on it. But it's definitely like a contender for there, because it's not too difficult to learn if you're used to iconography, but it's a solid game all round. And the expansions to add the 6th tribe and the Sultan cards just basically add to the coolness of it. So 5 tribes, good start. So why don't we go on to the sister game to 5 tribes, as I like to call it, Yamatai. This one seems a little bit messy inside the box, but should be fine. Ugh, how rude. Yamatai is kind of, like I said, the sister to 5 tribes. Look at that cover. I want that cover on my wall. It is that gorgeous a cover. The rest of the game is no different either. Yamatai is this kind of weird little Euro game where you're sailing these ships in between this archipelago island, and you're plonking buildings down on the various mountaintops and grabbing tiles for set collection and things like that. It's not too complex a game either, but it's definitely like even less thematic than the other one, because here the color boats have to be different, and or is it you have to put the same colors across? I forget exactly how it works, but it's all based on the colors of the boats that you put down, which kind of is not exactly thematic in any way. But you get to grab these little special characters for like powers and points. And the main thing I really like is the fact that the layout will be different every game, but the the action tiles. The action tiles dictate not only initiative order for when you go, but also the bonus you get. So you got to decide between how late you want to go in a round versus how good the bonus is. And I like games that give you that little choice, especially when you only have 5 out of the 10 showing up in any particular round. So you do have to be careful, like, well, if I want to go first, I'm going to have to take a really rubbish bonus, but I could go second, get a pretty good bonus, because there's a 1 and a 7 there, for example. And it does cause bit of thinkiness, but not quite as much as 5 Tribes. Again, both of these games are kind of 90 minutes tops, shorter if you got 2 players. And these two are like my favourite heavier games that Days of Wonder has put out, because I don't know like I said, high depth with low complexity. I think both of these games do a great job of that, and they just look gorgeous. I mean, this was when Days of Wonder was kind of at their prime for doing slightly more thinky Euro games. However, they also did some pretty good solid gateway level ones as well, and I don't get enough buzz from people about Quadropolis. Quadropolis, a very simple city building game, nice and straightforward. You basically have your own board where you plonk these tile buildings on, and they score in different ways depending on the building. So a tower block wants you to make it as tall as possible. Harbours like to be in a contiguous line. Factories like shops next to them. Shops like Meeple, which are like another kind of Meeple that you put on your boards. It's a really simple enough game, but you have a central construction board with these architects that you use to essentially grab the tile you want. But the amount of spaces along the construction board you're allowed to do depends on the number of the architects you have, and you only have one of each value. On top of that, wherever something gets taken, this black pawn goes out in the middle, or whatever colour it was, translucent pawn, and it means that you're not allowed to take anything from that row or column that it's in. So you're restricted in more ways than one, and you've got to be very careful about how you plan out where you're getting these tiles from. And of course, on your board, it's numbered so that the architect that you take also dictates where it can kind of go on your board. So there's a bit of forward planning that's required, but not like crazy amounts of it. And if you do badly, well, then it's a short game. It's a 30 to 60 minute game, and it's all done and dusted. And if it's too basic for you, play the advanced variant. 2 new buildings and, an extra bigger board. Although I personally prefer to play it the basic way. I think it does best as a gateway game, and also my one peeve with the new building that's brought in is that the scoring for it is a little bit complicated. It's kind of like an amalgamation of it's kind of weird. It's kind of like an amalgamation of the harbour and the tower blocks, but it's quite complex to figure out exactly how it works, and I just think it's maybe a one step too far. It's already very nice to do with just the basic board, and for a lightweight city building game, you don't get many of those. It's a pretty solid hit, but it never really saw much buzz for some reason. I don't know why this one didn't take off more than it did, but I like it, and I still hang on to it. Woo! And then this one. Now, this won't be a Days of Wonder game for much longer, because the new one that came out on Kickstarter, I have kickstarted it and I cannot wait for it. A new, even better looking version than this one, and this one isn't exactly bad. But Cleopatra and the Society of Architects. I had to buy a slightly dented copy for like 35 quid or something in order to actually just get this game, because it was out of print for so long. And I don't think it's even sitting on there, because the annoying thing with this is that the plastic doesn't quite sit in as easy as I would like. Not to mention the pyramids are a bit all over the place in some of the cards. But what this is kind of like a weird... I suppose it's kind of a set collection game, but basically everybody is chipping in to build the pyramid for Cleopatra. And you've got these columns of cards that are kind of laid out and build up over time, and they've all got different resources that they can get you, different powers, etc. And you're basically just trying to get the resources and build the various pieces, but you end up with all these, I'm not getting it out, but all these plastic pieces, that's plastic lust basically, all over the place. In fact, maybe I can try and show the back, but it's going to be difficult. Oh god. So with this, that whole pyramid there is what you're building. So there's a ton of plastic pieces of obelisks and sphinxes, and even the box is part of the building. You literally turn this box over, put this board on top, and then build the stuff around it, and this entire thing is part of the palace. Really cool idea. The deluxe version that we're getting with the new Kickstarter, Oh my god, that is going to look so good on the table. I cannot wait for that. That is going to be amazing. Streamline some of the rules, add some extra modules in, but just to make it deluxeified with a box and insert that works, I cannot wait. That is going to be a fantastic game when that hits the shelves. And this one really does need more plays, because one other aspect I really love in this is the corruption mechanic. It's kind of similar to Laws of Waterdeep, but with this one, you get corruption if you take the more powerful cards. They're not negative points at the end of the game though, but whoever has the most corruption at the end outright loses, gets fed to the crocodiles, and that's it. They're done. It doesn't matter how well you did. You could have been the best on victory points, but then you lost the game because of corruption. I love that mechanic because everybody's tens, it's hidden information, so you're kind of thinking, I've been a bit corrupt, but did you give back in the priest? How am I beating you? I think you've got more. I don't know. And that amount of tension with the final reveal of crap! It just doesn't work. It's a great one. I like this one. I just haven't got it to the table much because I've kind of forgotten the rules to it, and I'm kind of really anxious for that Kickstarter to arrive. So the sooner it does, the sooner I can get this one back to the table and really show it off. But yeah. 4 really good Days of Wonder games. I mean, one gateway one, Cleopatra is kind of gateway, the other 2 are a bit more thinky. I've only got a couple more to talk about, although technically I've got like all of one game that they made, but it's on a crate in the other room, so we'll talk about that in a different video. But then we've got a little bit of Tasty Minstrel games just for the next shelf, and then on to the heavy stuff. So I'll catch you then, take care and relax, I'll be fine.